Good afternoon, one and all. You can please start putting up your names and numbers for the attendance purpose. And we'll wait for 2 more minutes so that those who are wishing to join the class they can come. Okay, those who are going to join, I hope they are there in the class. What happened? Your exam was very tough today? Let some more people join because right now the attendance of your class is not even 40%. Okay, so let's start. In our last lecture, we were going through the liquidity preference theory. Am I right? So, what is the liquidity preference theory? The cash money that is kept with an individual as per his liking. That is called liquidity preference. And this is basically something which has three different motives, and those motives are transaction, speculative, and precautionary. So, how many motives did we cover in our last lecture? I hope we covered all the motives. How many motives did we cover? Two?
Ma'am, three of them.
Mm-hmm. Vatsal, where were you in the third one? Chalo, no problem. Any which ways, we'll be covering all three once again. So the first motive is our transaction motive. Transaction motive is all about the day-to-day requirements, and the demand for the transaction money is something that depends on size of the income, time gap between the receipts, and the spending habit. Some people are spendthrift, some are not. So it depends on that. Moreover, this sort of demand for money is something which is interest inelastic. No matter what is the rate of interest, this sort of demand will always remain same. Then we are having precautionary motive. Precautionary motive is in order to meet the unforeseen conditions, emergencies, contingencies, or accidents, whatsoever it is. So, it's not only individuals but also business firms which try to keep some amount of money for the precautionary motive. This is something which the demand of this money depends on, again, the size of income, the nature of an individual, and the farsightedness. Again, this sort of money is something which is interest in elastic in nature. Okay. And then we are having speculative motive. Now people want to keep cash with them to take an advantage of the change in condition. Generally, out of India, we are having this conditions in which people are interested in buying bonds. So this is the only demand of money from all the three motives of having the liquidity, which is dependent on the interest rates. Okay, so now we'll move ahead towards the liquidity preference curve, because finally this is economics and everything has to be represented properly with the help of a diagram. So the transaction balance and the precautionary balance are held with the intention of being used to make purchases, and that too as and when required. So they are sometimes jointly referred as the demand for active balances, because this being interest in elastic, they are not dependent on anything else, but they're required by an individual on day-to-day basis. See, even the precautionary motive, or we can say the precautionary demand of money, is something which is entirely dependent, or is something which can be used on the day-to-day basis only. So this is an active demand, or we can say the demand for active balances. Now, the important point about the demand for active balances is that it is not responsive to any change in the rate of interest. That is, no matter what is happening to the rate of interest, this is the sort of demand that will remain completely inelastic. Just give me a second. Okay, so here we are talking about the active demand, or we can say the demand for active balances. This is something which is completely interest inelastic. What is the term interest inelastic means? Can anyone tell me what is the term interest inelastic means? आज मेरी बच्चा पार्टी थकी हुई क्यों लग रही है?
May I try?
Sure, go ahead.
Interest in elastic means like it the rate of interest or interest doesn't affect the preference of this liquidity like cash money.
Okay. Yes. Yes, my dear ladies, you are absolutely right. पर आज हुआ क्या है क्लास को, पहले मुझे ये बताओ. इतना ठंडे क्यों बैठे हो, चुपचाप क्यों बैठे हो? नहीं तो हर क्वेश्चन पे चहकती मेरी क्लास. इतनी चुप तो नहीं होती कभी भी. क्या हुआ आज? इसलिए मैंने जेन्युइनली पूछा पूछा पेपर अच्छा क्या? ओके, इस सवाल का कोई जवाब नहीं है. अच्छा क्या? फिर क्या हुआ, फिर क्यों एनर्जी डाउन है? अभी तो घर पे रह के पेपर दे रहे हो. चलो कोई बात नहीं, ऐसे सवाल एग्जाम के टाइम पे नहीं पूछने चाहिए. ओके, so now the demand for speculative balances is on the other hand what sort of demand are we having for speculative balances? Is that interest elastic or inelastic? बोलो 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 बोलो. uh Demand for speculative motive is interest elastic or inelastic? बोलो बोलो बोलो. Interest is elastic or inelastic? Speculative demand is interest elastic or inelastic? बताओ. This is the last sort of demand for money. Mm-mm. When there is a change in the rate of interest, then people prefer to buy or sell bonds. Now, is it elastic or inelastic? Astha? Okay, yes. And for others also, जो कि मुझे जवाब नहीं दे रहे, उनके लिए भी. See, beta, the first two motives are a day-to-day motive or a contingency motive. The demand of money for those two motives is always interest inelastic. Why is it interest inelastic? Because एक के लिए हमें डेली यूज के लिए पैसे चाहिए एंड दूसरे में वी आर सेविंग सम मनी so that we can face an unknown or unforeseen situation. Whereas the third one is about savings. The third one is about investment. Whenever we are talking about investment, whenever we are talking about savings, then that condition is the condition in which we will focus on the rate of interest, no matter what. So when something is dependent on the rate of interest, that is definitely interest elastic. Whereas when something is not dependent on the rate of interest, only then we can say that it is interest inelastic. अब clarity आई थोड़ी बहुत. The first two motives, no matter what, we need that money. Whereas in the last motive, we'll need liquid only when we need to buy bonds. And when the cost of bonds is reduced, we will try to keep liquid cash. So that is definitely interest elastic in each and every condition. Am I clear with this? You also highlighted the point. Okay, yes. Good. Okay, so we can have the community's total demand of money, or we can say the liquidity preference, scheduled by adding the demand for active money and idle balances. The active money is the demand for precautionary and transaction motives. And the idle money is the money which we are having in our accounts so that the speculative demand of money can be so that the speculative demand of money can be fulfilled. Okay? So whenever we are talking about the demand for active money and idle balances, we'll represent them with LA and LI. So let's see over here what is happening with LA and LI. Now, what is LA representing? What is LA representing? Anyone can tell me? Okay, active money. And what is LI representing? Idle cash? LI अच्छा ओके आपने पहले छापा होगा आइडल मनी यस मेरे क्लास में सिर्फ दो बच्चे नहीं है और भी बहुत सारे हैं आई हैव 46 मोर स्टूडेंट्स इन द क्लास कहाँ पे हो भाई नाउ आई वांट रिप्लाईज फ्रॉम अदर्स आल्सो आई एम गेटिंग रिप्लाई फ्रॉम रिया बट दैट इज नॉट सो मेनी सावन आई वांट अ रिप्लाई नॉट एन अटेंडेंस okay so here we can see that the demand for actual money is interest inelastic so no matter what is happening with the rate of interest this here I over here this can you see an I over here on top this I on each and every graph is representing the rate of interest and this QM is the quantity of money demanded okay so whenever we are talking about the demand of actual money, then that is something which is interest inelastic. So no matter what is happening to the rate of interest, the quantity of money demanded will always be same. Hence, we are having a line which is parallel to y-axis, right? Can you see the graphs? Okay. In the next graph, we are having the demand for idle money. And this demand for idle money is something which is interest elastic. So you can see that as and when the rate of interest is rising, the demand for money is decreasing. And it will go on and on and on and on. Now, when these two graphs are added together, it will give us a total demand of money in the market. So this is something which is this is interest inelastic, whereas this is interest elastic. So we'll see a graph that is going downwards. Okay? Okay? So now let's talk about the supply of money. Now the supply of money is quite different from the demand of money. This was all about the demand of okay. This was a liquidity preference curve for the demand of money. Now let's talk about the supply of money. This is quite different from the demand of money because we know that the supply of money is by three different factors. Now, Because here there is no private individual that can change it. The demand of money can be changed by an individual, but the supply of money cannot be changed by any private individual. This is something which is controlled by the central bank or the government. So the money supply which so the money supply depends upon the currency issued by the government and the policies of the central bank. And that too, the policies which are in reference to the credit creation. Are you aware of this credit creation policies? What are they called? What are the policies of credit creation called? Credit creation is something which works on general government policies. What are the names of those policies? Is anyone aware? Okay. One is Rahil is absolutely right. One is monetary policy, and the other one is exactly. Yes. One is monetary policy, and the other one is called fiscal policy. These are the two policies which are responsible for the entire supply of money in the market. And this is something which is controlled by the central bank or its government. Because this money which is supplied to the market is something which is definitely issued by the central bank and the government. So, in the short run, at a particular period of time, the supply of money will always remain constant. If there's an increase or decrease in the rate of interest or anything, it will have a long term effect. But at that point of time, it will stay as it is. That is why we say that the supply curve is perfectly inelastic in nature. Can you see that the money supply curve isn't this similar to the LA curve, that is the demand for actual money? Isn't this graph similar to the one that we had seen for the demand of money for active demand for active money? So there also it was the demand was interest inelastic, and here also, oh, yes, and here also the supply of money is something which is not affected by the rate of interest. So are we clear with this? Are we clear with this? Okay, so we'll move ahead towards the determination of interest rate. See, the entire theory is about the rate of interest. So this is something which is determined at the point of intersection between the liquidity preference curve and the supply curve. Now we are aware that the liquidity preference curve is something which is this one. I'm sorry, what am I doing? Okay, I'll repeat once again for you. Now the interest rate is determined at a point of interest intersection between the liquidity preference curve and the money supply curve. Now we are aware that this is the money supply curve, right? This is the money supply curve, and this one will be taken as liquidity preference curve. Now, how will we determine the rate of interest? The rate of interest is determined when these two curves intersect with one another. Now, they are intersecting at a point that is this. We'll name it as E. Okay, so now what is the diagram showing us? That OR is the equilibrium. यहाँ पे तो कहीं OR है ही नहीं, हमने तो कुछ डिमार्क कर ही नहीं रखा है. Okay, it is showing that OR is the equilibrium rate which is determined at the point E, where the money supply curve, that is the MS curve, is something that is intersecting with the liquidity preference curve. This is the liquidity preference curve, right? This is the liquidity preference curve and this is the money supply curve. These two curves are something which are meeting at a point which is considered as E, that is the point of intersection. At this rate, the demand of money for liquidity preference is equal to the supply of money. That we'll consider as O over here and okay. So this is the point of equilibrium where the money supply is something which can be termed as equal to the supply of money in the market at this rate of interest. If there is an increase in the rate of interest, then what will happen if there is an increase in the rate of interest? The money supply is not going to change, but there will be a change in the demand for speculative motive of money. So our liquidity preference curve will change, and thus the equilibrium point of intersection will also be changing. It will move downwards. Okay, clear with this? Anyone is having any doubt? Okay, so we'll move towards the last part of this liquidity preference curve, and that is called the part of criticism. See, now what happens whenever any theory is being made, it is criticized for one or the other reason. So this theory was also criticized for certain reasons. What do you think? What can be the reason for criticism of this theory? Bolo? On what term is this theory based on? Is it preferring any point? Rate of interest. Okay. So let's see on what it is criticized. The first thing, that is the rate of interest by itself is coming. So Keynes says that the interest rate is purely a monetary phenomena which is determined by the liquidity preference and money supply. But the critics say that the factors like marginal productivity of capital, time preference, they can also determine the rate of interest. That is also true. The marginal productivity of capital and the time preference can determine the interest rate. So it is not purely a monetary phenomena, but it is a function of certain other things also. Like there are chances that because of depression or inflation, there is a demand of money in the market. So that is not something which is determined by the rate of interest. That is determined because the business requires or does not require a certain money because of the change in a business cycle. So we cannot always say that the demand of money is something which is determined by the interest rate, but it can be determined by other factors also. So it is not a purely monetary phenomenon, but certain other factors are also responsible for the demand and supply of money in the market. The next criticism was that Keynes fails to make it clear. This is the theory which was given by Keynes. He is unable to make it clear whether money means cash alone or cash in bank deposits. But we have, you'll say that मैम डिमांड ऑफ मनी में बैंक मनी आया था, बट बैंक मनी वो वाला मनी नहीं था that a person holds. सेविंग्स आया था, बट कौन सी वाली सेविंग्स? That clarity was not there. So basically, what is happening in this theory is that whenever we are talking about money, we are talking about an absolute term of money, because we are not having any clarity whether the writer or whether the economist is giving us a theory about cash money alone, or he is trying to explain us the theory in which both cash and bank are involved with one another. Okay? The next criticism that is gained by this theory is they they're explaining us in a very good way that how interest rate is determined in the short run. But again, Knees being a Knees, he haven't explained anything about the long run. But whenever we are talking about a business, it is something that will go through different phases of a business cycle, and different phases of a business cycle are something which are dependent for on the that takes place in a long run period of time. So if we are completely unaware that how is the rate of interest gonna impact the demand and supply of money in the market in the long run period of time, how can we depend on any such theory while entering into a business cycle? So this is a very strong criticism that in short run period of time, what is going to happen with the rate of interest and how it will be determined is informed to us. This is something which was not informed in the loanable fund theory. But here they are trying to explain us that how it will be determined. But it does not explain the long run interest rate. So it becomes useless for us. The next criticism over here is that Keynes has ignored savings. So according to Jacob Weiner, there cannot be any liquidity without savings. Hence, savings cannot be ignored in the interest theory. But here in the interest theory, we can see that it is about quantity of money. Even the graphs are about quantity of money or interest rate. But a very less importance is being given to the savings, and savings are something which are referred only in the supply of money. At the same time, when we are trying to talk about the liquidity preference in the entire supply of money, then we are also considering that it is the central bank and the government who are deciding the supply of money in the market. So the total required amount of importance which savings should have received, is it able to receive that? Hmm? Okay, sorry, I got lost. And the next criticism that this theory has received is that theory is not applicable during the period of depression. Why? Because it fails to explain why the interest rate is low during depression. See, this is something which I was telling you, that the rate of interest is something which is oh, not only me, even the first point itself is telling you that this is not the monetary phenomena only. At the time of depression, the rate of interest is very low, and at the time of inflation, the rate of interest is very high. Now, both the reasons are those reasons which are not explained by anyone at all. अब जब हमें कोई ये बात समझा ही नहीं रहा है तो हमें समझ में कैसे आएगी? दिस थियरी इज नॉट इवन looking up to it. Now, one of the reason because of which this theory given by Keynes is not looking up to it is because Keynes did not believe in the long-term theory. He used to believe that every change, every possible change can take place in the short-run period of time only. Because as per him, when we are talking about long run, we are talking about years together. And he used to believe that in if you're talking about a long run period of time, everyone will be dead. He did not accept the middle way out. Might be because at that point of time they were not having this theory of long run and short run very clearly defined. But now we are having a clearly defined theory of long run and short run. Short run is something which is between the time of 3 months to 1 year, and long run is beyond the time of 2 years. So nothing in the theory is giving us that how will you determine the rate of interest in the long run, or what will be the if effect in the time of depression. Why is the interest rate low? Everything such is not being covered in the theory of liquidity preference. And moreover, Keynes has said that the rate of interest is independent of the demand from investment. So critics say that this is something which is very unrealistic. Can you believe that the rate of interest is something which is completely independent of the from the demand of investment? If a person is intending to invest a certain amount of money, then will he or will he not focus on the rate of interest? They'll focus, right? So when they focus on the rate of interest, then this theory cannot hold true. So that is why the critics have said that this is something which is very unrealistic in nature, as the demand for investment funds will have an effect on the interest rate. If the demand is high, if the demand is high, then the interest rate will be high. If the demand is low, then the interest rate will be, sorry, it's the other way around. When the demand of investment is high, the interest rate is genuinely going low. When the demand of investment is low, it means that there is something wrong with the interest rate. So this was all about your liquidity preference theory. Is there anything in the entire theory which you are confused about, or or if you want to ask a question about it? Is there anything in the entire theory for which you need a clarification? So everything is crystal clear? No doubts whatsoever? Okay. So now there is a message that you must have seen on your group. Have you seen a message on your group from Paras sir? Okay, so are you intending to join the webinar? Okay, though those who are not thinking, just give it a thought because these are some of those opportunities which you'll be able to get only in this university. There are many universities who are providing with n number of things, but this is something which you'll get only over here because this in-house expertise is something which your university is having. But this is on 22nd. Are you having an exam on 22nd also? Because as per my knowledge, your exams are getting over on Saturday. Saturday is 22nd, right? And the timing of the webinar is 11 to 12. Hmm. And yes, your exams are from 11 to 11:40. Oh, then you cannot. चलो कोई बात नहीं. So for today's lecture, no one needs any sort of clarification. Everyone is crystal clear. I wanted you to join this webinar, but your exams, what 18th का exam पीछे चला गया, so no, you cannot do it. How will you join if you? Who will give your paper then? On 22nd, you're not having any exam.
Ma'am, exam is on 23rd.
22nd is free. And then you can take. It's just an hour, and it will be very interesting. Ronak sir's webinars are generally very interesting. Even we by ourselves try to join. So give it a try. मजा आएगा. Genuinely मजा आएगा. Okay. So thank you for the day. If you're not having any doubt, then you can leave. If you're having a doubt, you can put up a question. Thank you. And yes, in our next lecture, we'll be going through inflation now. It's there, check the flyer. It's available on your screen.